Everyone, my name is Parul. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll be explaining verbs and its different types. Now, what is a verb? A verb is the main part of a sentence which tells us about an action and state or situation. There are different types of verbs. Let's go through them. Dynamic and stative. Main and helping verbs. Helping verbs are also called auxiliary verbs. Regular and irregular verbs. Transitive and intransitive verbs. In today's video, I'll be covering dynamic and stative verbs, but don't worry about other types because I'll be covering all of them in my coming videos, so stay tuned. Let's understand verbs a bit more through these examples. Max is writing a letter. So write is a verb because it's an action. So here in this sentence, writing is the verb. She looked at me. Now imagine that I'm looking at someone else and suddenly I look at the camera. So this is an action. Okay. So that's why again this is a verb. Looked. He sings. Sing is the verb. They work together. Work, again it is an action, so work is the verb in this sentence. Now look at this last sentence. We like the house. However, like is not an action word here, but we just have learnt about verbs that they tell about the action and state or situation. When I talk about state, that means your feelings, your likings, your preferences. So according to that, like is the verb here. Okay, not an action verb, but definitely a different kind of verb. Now we will do dynamic and stative verbs. Dynamic verbs are action verbs. They describe an action rather than a state in a sentence. For example, I am learning to play the piano. We all know that learn is an action verb, so it is a dynamic verb here. He drinks coffee every day. So drinks is a dynamic verb. My mom eats only 2 meals a day. Eat again is an action verb. So it's a dynamic verb. I am playing with my friends. So playing is a dynamic verb. On the left side of the board, I have mentioned some of the common dynamic verbs like eat, walk, learn, grow, sleep, write, read, go, come, talk, grow, etc. Okay, there are many dynamic verbs. So you just have to remember one thing, whatever action verbs are there, they are all dynamic verbs. Next is stative verbs. Stative verbs are those which describe a state rather than an action. They usually describe the act of feeling or liking something. They refer to a state which does not change. That means that you cannot use stative verbs in present continuous forms. For example, Lara wants a new iPad. So here want is not an action, but it is a feeling. It is a state that doesn't change. Okay. So this is a stative verb. Now if you want to make it in continuous, for example, Lara is wanting a new iPad. So that is an incorrect sentence. Now next is Max prefers coffee over tea. Again, this is a preference, not an action. So this is a stative verb. Jack hates the rain. Hate is a feeling, again a stative verb. If you try to make it in present continuous, Jack is hating the rain, that is incorrect. Next is I love my mother. If you make it in continuous form, I am loving my mother, again an incorrect sentence. So that's why stative verbs can't be used in present continuous forms. Now on the left side, I again have mentioned some examples. Just go through them. Believe, hate, wish, hear, see, taste, belong, dislike. Now if you see, these all they are not action verbs, but they all are stative verbs because they are describing a state, not an action. There are some verbs which are both dynamic and stative. That means they describe actions or state depending upon the sentence. For example, I think it's a good idea. So in this sentence, think is a stative verb because it's an opinion, it's an idea, it's a state. It is not an action here. So that's why this is stative. If you try to make it in present continuous form, like I am thinking it's a good idea, then it doesn't make a sense and that is an incorrect sentence. Look at the second one. Wait, I am thinking. Okay, so when I say I am thinking, so that is an activity, that is an action. That's why here thinking is a dynamic verb and here think is a stative verb. Let's look at another example. She thinks it is wrong to hit children. So again, it is her opinion that she thinks it is wrong to hit children. You cannot frame it in present continuous. Like she is thinking it is wrong to hit children. That is wrong. Second, she is thinking about buying a car. Again, she is thinking about something. So that is an activity. And that's how this is a dynamic verb. And here thinks, this is a stative verb. Next example is, I don't mind if you stay tonight. So in this sentence, mind means be bothered by. So it is showing the state of mind. So that's why here this is a stative verb. Whereas in second sentence, I am not being arrogant, I am minding my own business. So here minding means that the speaker is looking after his business and it becomes an action here. So that's why we have made this sentence in present continuous and this is a dynamic verb here. Dynamic verb. I have 3 brothers. So here have is a stative verb because speaker is giving information about the family. So here this is not an action, that's why it's a stative verb. Now second example, I am having a bad day today, I'll call you tomorrow. That means speaker, he is having a bad time. So again it is an action, that's why here it is a dynamic verb and not a stative verb. I repeat, we cannot use stative verbs in present continuous form. You all must have understood dynamic and stative verbs. Now let's practice some more. Here you will have to tell me which is the verb and whether it is dynamic or stative. So let's do it. First sentence, do you know that man? So here, which is the verb? Correct. So the verb is know. Now, is it dynamic or stative? This is a stative verb because here know is not an action, it is just an opinion of the person, whether he knows that man or not. So it's a stative verb. Now next is, this fabric feels like silk. Again, it is not an action, it is a state, so that's why feel is a stative verb. The children are making lots of noise. So the verb is make. This is an action. Making here is showing an activity that the children are making lots of noise. So it is a dynamic verb. Next is, I took these pictures yesterday. So the verb is took. It is a dynamic verb because take is an action. This is showing an action here. So this is a dynamic verb. My neighbors are having a party. So have is a verb which is sometimes dynamic and sometimes stative depending upon the sentence. But here in this sentence, this is a dynamic verb because neighbors are having a party. So here having is showing an activity, an action. That's why it is dynamic. John has a computer. So the verb is has and it is showing a state a possession, so that's why it is not showing an action, that's why it is a stative verb. This cake tastes awful. Again, taste is the verb and taste is not an activity, not an action. It is the feeling, so this is stative. Again, stative. What are you doing? So do is the main verb, do is an action, so here doing is dynamic verb. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Take care. Have a good day.